Philosophies Revived.
I want you to picture an empty room, no furniture, no noise, just completely silent, unbroken space. It's a bit unnerving, isn't it? We're so used to filling every inch with stuff, pictures, devices, and constant chatter. But what if emptiness isn't something to avoid, but the very key to understanding all of reality? Today, we're peeling back the layers of illusion to reveal how the void, the silence, and the nothingness hold more power than we've ever realized. If you're ready to question what you believe and challenge what you've been told, stick around. This might just blow your mind. Let's face it, we live in a world addicted to noise. From the moment we wake up to the second we fall asleep, our senses are bombarded with notifications, headlines, and endless chatter. We've been told that knowledge is power, that more information means more control. But has all this information truly made us wiser, or just more distracted? Emptiness, be it a moment of silence or a blank sheet of paper, feels threatening because it forces us to confront the unknown. Yet it's precisely in that quiet, in that spaciousness, where real insight can bloom and genuine transformation can take root. Ironically, emptiness isn't actually empty. Think of it like a blank canvas. You might see nothing painted on it yet, but that simple white space is bursting with possibilities. Every masterpiece begins on an unmarked surface. Without emptiness, there's no room for creativity, for new thoughts, for growth. Imagine a closet stuffed so full you can't possibly squeeze in another shirt. That's our minds these days, overflowing with input and never any space to reflect. When we clear out a little room, that's when fresh ideas can enter. And this isn't just about brainstorming, it's about living with clarity and focus. Have you ever noticed how the biggest breakthroughs in life often happen when you're not forcing anything? It's like trying to remember a name. The harder you push, the further it slips from your mind. But the moment you let go, boom, the answer shows up. That's the power of emptiness. When we stop crowding our minds with constant effort and noise, real clarity steps in. It's ironic, but emptiness can be the birthplace of everything we've been searching for. Instead of thinking of the void as scary, think of it as a wellspring of hidden potential waiting to emerge. In many traditions, emptiness is revered as sacred. Monks spend hours in meditation, aiming to quiet their thoughts. Why? Because in that stillness, they connect with something far bigger than any single idea. This emptiness isn't about having a blank mind forever. It's about cultivating a space where fresh insight can arise. Think of it like decluttering your home. When you clear away the junk, you're left with room to actually live. Likewise, when you clear away mental clutter, you discover an inner expanse that can't be measured. That silence is where true creativity and wisdom can finally speak. Yet, how often do we allow ourselves that gift of empty space? Our culture praises hustle, productivity, and endless engagement. We feel guilty if we're not busy, as if stillness is laziness. But that's a lie we've swallowed for too long. Some of the most brilliant minds in history made time for emptiness. Einstein daydreamed. Da Vinci doodled. Jobs walked in silence. Their greatest revelations often came in those quiet, unstructured moments. By ignoring the power of emptiness, we're essentially cutting ourselves off from the very source of innovation and enlightenment. Maybe it's time we reclaim that quiet. Let's dive deeper into how emptiness intersects with reality itself. Think about an atom. Most of it is empty space. The solid parts, the protons, neutrons, electrons, are minuscule compared to the vacuum around them. And if we go even deeper, quantum physics reveals that particles are more like waves of probability than tiny billiard balls. So matter, which seems so solid, is actually mostly emptiness. Doesn't that make you question everything we label as real? The entire universe, including your body, is mostly space. That means emptiness isn't just a philosophical concept, it's the literal fabric of existence. Now consider your experiences. You see, hear, touch, taste, smell, but all these perceptions happen in your mind, which is itself a field of consciousness. Look closely, and you'll find that thoughts and sensations pop in and out, like bubbles in water. Where do they come from? Where do they go? It's almost like there's a boundless empty sky, and these experiences are clouds drifting through. We chase after the clouds, forgetting that the sky remains unchanged. That sky, pure, open awareness, is what some call the emptiness of mind. And tapping into that can shift how we engage with every moment. You might be thinking, this all sounds nice, but I've got bills to pay and errands to run. True, emptiness won't magically wipe away your responsibilities, but it can transform how you meet them. When your mind is cluttered, stress compounds. You're reacting from a place of overload. In contrast, operating with a sense of spaciousness helps you respond instead of react. It's like the difference between driving on a crowded freeway and cruising on an open road. Same car, same driver, but the journey feels entirely different. Emptiness gives us that open road in our own heads. I used to think emptiness was scary, like drifting in a void with no purpose. But then I realized emptiness isn't nothingness. It's potential. It's the fertile soil where seeds can sprout. When I finally allowed silence into my daily routine, be it 5 minutes in the morning or a short walk without my phone, I started noticing subtle shifts. My anxiety levels dropped. I became more present with loved ones. Even my creative work flourished. Turns out, letting some emptiness in is like hitting a mental reset button. All that noise fades away, letting your real priorities rise to the surface. So how do you start embracing emptiness without dropping everything and moving to a mountaintop? Begin with small steps. Carve out a quiet corner in your morning routine. Maybe it's sipping coffee without scrolling through social media. Pay attention to your surroundings, to the warmth of the cup in your hands. At first, your mind will race. That's normal. Just observe those thoughts, like passing cars on the highway. Over time, you'll get used to the stillness. And with practice, you'll crave it like water in a desert. Don't be surprised if, in those moments, you find unexpected insights. Another way is to audit your environment. Look at your space, your bedroom, office, or even your phone's home screen. Is it cluttered with things you don't need? Stuff can create visual noise, feeding mental noise. By removing what's unnecessary, you're not just cleaning a room, you're making room. Empty space on a shelf can be oddly empowering, a reminder that you don't have to fill every gap. The same principle applies to your schedule. Do you pack it with commitments until there's no breathing room? Learning to say no is a powerful step toward inviting more emptiness into your life. You might wonder, won't I miss out if I do less? Won't I lose opportunities? Actually, the opposite tends to happen. When you guard some empty space in your calendar or your mind, you create a vacuum that new, better opportunities can fill. If every minute is spoken for, there's no room for spontaneity or creative breakthroughs. Imagine a glass already full of water. Can you pour anything else in without it overflowing? The emptiness is what lets new experiences, insights, and connections come into your life. You're not losing out, you're opening up. Let's talk about relationships. We often approach people with preconceived ideas about who they are or what they want. That mental clutter blocks genuine connection. When we hold a little emptiness in our interaction space for another person to surprise us, we experience them more deeply. We listen without racing to respond. We see them without projecting our judgments. It's like turning down the volume on our inner chatter so we can truly hear someone else's melody. That emptiness is compassion, an openness to let others be who they are, rather than who we assume they should be. Speaking of assumptions, let's address the illusions we cling to. We think reality is fixed. This is good, that is bad, here's me, there's you. Yet quantum physics, ancient wisdom, and direct experience all hint that things aren't so black and white. Beneath all the labels and stories, there's a fluid, interconnected dance. Emptiness is the stage on which that dance unfolds. The moment we define something too rigidly, we limit how we can experience it. That's like painting the entire canvas one color and then complaining we don't see any new pictures. Emptiness keeps possibilities alive. Have you noticed how we often fill silences in conversation because it feels awkward? It's as though we're allergic to even a few seconds of quiet. But what if those silences are where the real connection happens? Sometimes, a pause can speak louder than any words. It shows we're thinking, feeling, and truly present. It's the same with life's bigger silences, the ones we usually run from. In those moments where we're not sure what to do next, if we lean into that emptiness, it can reveal paths we never saw coming. Like a calm lake reflecting the sky, emptiness mirrors our deeper truths. Think of emptiness as your own personal backstage pass. You're stepping behind the scenes of your experiences, relationships, and even reality itself. On stage, everything's dramatic lights, costumes, roles, but behind the curtain, it's just open space where new performances are planned. When you embrace emptiness, you're no longer stuck in the drama. You become the director, able to choose what story to create next. You realize that you're more than just an actor in a script you didn't write. And with that awareness, you gain the freedom to rewrite the narrative, to reshape how you interact with the world. Let's get practical for a second. If you want to experiment with emptiness, try what I call the one-line journal. Instead of forcing yourself to write pages, just jot down a single sentence each day. It could be something you're grateful for, or a realization from your day. The rest of the page remains empty. Notice how a single line can echo more powerfully in that blank space than if it were buried in a cluttered paragraph. That's the essence of emptiness, making every small thing count, giving each thought its proper weight by surrounding it with the stillness it deserves. Here's another idea: digital detox. If only for an hour. Turn off notifications, put your phone out of reach, and watch what happens. Yes, at first, you'll feel restless. You might even feel bored, but boredom is just another door to emptiness. Eventually, your mind will relax, and you might rediscover a part of yourself that's been drowned out by the digital noise. Maybe you'll realize you miss painting, or you'll recall a friend you haven't talked to in ages. The emptiness in your schedule can become a playground for possibilities. It's not about deprivation, it's about creation. And let's not forget about the bigger picture, the illusions around success and identity. We chase external markers, promotions, followers, fancy titles, hoping they'll fill some void inside. But that void isn't a flaw. It's part of who we are. It's the spiritual reminder that we're more than any label. No external achievement can ever replace the fullness that comes from recognizing emptiness within. It sounds paradoxical, but when you embrace that empty space inside, you feel complete in a way no trophy can replicate. It's like discovering the ocean inside you, realizing you were never just a single wave. Let's also acknowledge that emptiness can be intimidating. Sometimes we keep busy or accumulate stuff to avoid facing our fears, our traumas, our loneliness. Emptiness can bring those hidden parts of ourselves to the surface. But this confrontation is a blessing in disguise. It's only when we face our shadows that we can heal and transform. Imagine a dark room. Shining a light can be jarring at first, but it's the only way to see what's really there. Emptiness does that for our psyche, revealing truths we've buried. It might be uncomfortable, but it's the path to genuine freedom. You might wonder, what if emptiness feels depressing? There's a difference between emptiness and nihilism. Nihilism is the belief that nothing matters, that life is meaningless. Emptiness, as we're exploring it, is not that. It's the openness that allows for any meaning to emerge. Think of it like a blank stage. Nihilism is tearing down the theater altogether, but emptiness is the stage waiting for whatever performance you choose next. Far from being pointless, emptiness is the canvas for all purpose. When you realize that, you shift from feeling powerless to recognizing you can paint the life you want. Remember that famous story about the Zen master pouring tea? A student kept going on and on about all he knew. So the master poured tea into the student's cup until it overflowed. The student protested that the cup was full, and the master replied, "Exactly. You're so full of ideas, there's no room for anything new." That's emptiness in a nutshell. We need to empty our cups if we want fresh insight. Our world is bursting with opinions, data, and hot takes. But maybe what we need is a pause, a willingness to say, "I don't know, let me listen." Let's take a moment to imagine you're standing at the edge of a cliff, looking out over a vast canyon. The space before you is both breathtaking and terrifying. That's emptiness. It's the moment you realize how small you are, yet how infinite the possibilities are. It's humbling and empowering at the same time. Do you step back in fear or lean in with awe? Emptiness challenges us to do the latter, to trust that stepping into the unknown might just reveal wings we never knew we had. Sometimes, you have to lose your footing to find new ground. People often ask, does embracing emptiness mean I shouldn't care about goals or passions? Not at all. Emptiness actually heightens your ability to care and to be passionate because it removes the clutter that dilutes your focus. You can still set goals, but now you're driven by clarity instead of desperation. It's like planting a seed in fertile soil. The emptiness provides the space for that seed to flourish. When your mind is overcrowded with doubts, regrets, and what-ifs, your goals get strangled. Emptiness becomes the supportive environment where your dreams can take root and truly thrive. Let's also consider how emptiness relates to compassion. Have you ever tried to help someone when you were totally overwhelmed? It's tough to truly empathize when your own mental space is jam-packed. Emptiness allows room for others. When you're not endlessly consumed by your own noise, you can actually hear someone else's story. This emptiness isn't about ignoring your needs. It's about having the capacity to hold space for someone else's pain or joy. It's like clearing a seat at your table. If the table's already full, no one new can join. Emptiness is the seat you offer to others. Let's talk about community. An empty calendar slot might be exactly what allows you to show up for a friend in crisis. An empty mind could be what helps you spot an opportunity to serve in your neighborhood. We often think of emptiness as loneliness, but that's not accurate. Loneliness is the absence of connection, while emptiness is the presence of open space. That space can become a home for genuine community. We can't build deep bonds if we're constantly rushing or mentally checked out. Emptiness fosters the stillness needed for real relationships. Now, let's address the illusion of control. We try to fill every moment, plan every second, and control every outcome. But life doesn't always comply. Embracing emptiness is also about surrender, acknowledging that we're part of a bigger flow that doesn't revolve around our agendas. That might sound scary, but it's actually liberating. It means you can release the burden of micromanaging existence. You can step into the river of life, trusting that emptiness will guide you to the right current. When you leave some space for life to surprise you, you often find that it surprises you in wonderful ways. We're nearing the end of our exploration, but the journey into emptiness is never really over. It's a day-by-day practice, a moment-to-moment choice. Emptiness is woven into the fabric of everything from atoms to the cosmos, from your mind to your relationships. When we stop viewing emptiness as a void to be feared and start seeing it as a canvas for creation, a space for healing, and a gateway to authentic living, everything changes. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. Suddenly, you see possibilities where before there was just clutter and confusion. So here's my invitation. Embrace emptiness. Let it be the silent pause in your busy day, the blank page in your journal, the open heart in your relationships. Dare to do less so you can experience more. Dare to listen rather than always speak. Dare to let go of what's weighing you down so new wings can grow. Emptiness isn't the absence of life, it's the space that allows life to bloom. If you've stuck with me this far, thank you. My hope is that you see emptiness not as a threat, but as the key to everything you've been seeking.